Hi and welcome everyone to another video. My name is Denis and yes, the international break finally is over. So today we're going to be discussing about a lot of things. We're going to be discussing about the best players you should target for the next few game weeks. We're going to be discussing about the best fixtures to target, the best teams and a lot of statistics. But now let's just get into it. Okay, so as I said before, today we're going to be discussing about a lot of things. And yeah, I wanted to do something different. This video is going to be a section in a lot of parts, so feel free to jump to whichever part you want. We're going to be discussing about a lot of statistics, expected goals for midfielders, for forwards. We're going to look at the best fixtures and also we're going to see which teams are better for defenders and also for forwards. So again, feel free to jump to each part you want. We're going to be starting with the midfielders and also I'm going to be recommending you players to buy ahead of game week 8, although that's a different discussion and I'm going to do that now. Now looking at this screen, what you see now on the screen are the statistics for midfielders from the first game week to the 7th game week. So for the start of the season, obviously non-expected goals per 90 minutes. Now again, this is not taking into consideration penalties, and that's good. And as you can see here, these are the top midfielders for the first 7 game weeks regarding these statistics, and no surprises here. Ismail Assar, Enzo, Semenyo, Ahmad, a little bit of a surprise there. So I'm going to be discussing about these players and also we're going to jump around to see also the fixtures for these midfielders, because I just thought instead of making best players to buy ahead of game week 8, just to show you which were the best players in the first 7 game weeks of the season. Now starting with Ismail Assar for Crystal Palace, to be honest with you, again, these players are decent. Now not all of them, I'm going to talk about each one of them, but I just don't think that game week 8 is one of the best game weeks to buy midfielders, for an example, because we're going to take a look at the fixture. So Ismail Assar, I think that is a fantastic option, as you can see in the first 7 game weeks. And also guys, take into consideration that he missed 2 or 3 game weeks due to an injury. He has the best statistic on this list, and yeah, I think that is just a great option. I think that he's one of the best midfielders in the game at that price bracket, alongside Enzo Fernandez. Now that we know the latest information from Chelsea is that Cole Palmer is going to be out for some games. Now again, we don't know exactly the amount of games Palmer is going to miss, but it's not looking great for Palmer because his injury problem is just persisting, and yeah, it's just not looking like he's going to be back playing for Chelsea anytime soon. So Enzo Fernandez, let's talk a little bit about him. I don't really need to discuss too much about him. I think that he's one of the best options. Now obviously the fixtures are great for Chelsea. We're going to take a look at them also. The only disadvantage I can see for Enzo Fernandez is that he missed the last game week for Argentina in the international break due to an injury. Now we need to see what Maresca is going to say in the press conference to see how bad the injury is if he is going to be fit to play against Nottingham Forest in game week 8. But yeah, if he's going to be fit, I think that he's probably the best player you should buy ahead of game week 8, considering the fixtures, considering that he's going to be probably on penalties for what we know so far. He's on some set pieces, he's on some corners, and he's also getting in some really good positions to score. So yeah, he's just a great option. Now as I said before, we're going to be moving here to Fantasy Football Hub. Here I sorted the best fixtures, are sorted from game week 8 to game week 13, but we're just going to jump in and out to see the fixtures for these players. Now why I said I don't think that it's one of the best moment to buy players in FPL in game week 8. For an example, someone like Ismail Assar from Crystal Palace is a player I really like because of his expected data, because of his chances of scoring, obviously. But if we look here, the next 2 fixtures for Crystal Palace are not amazing. So it's Bournemouth at home and Arsenal away. So that's why I think that if you're not in a rush to buy Ismail Assar, that's what I'm trying to say, because obviously Bournemouth at home, let's say it's fine, right? I think that that's a decent fixture, but it's not something like Wolverhampton, Burnley. Obviously, Bournemouth are a decent defense, are a decent team this season. They show that in the first games of the season. So again, I don't think that's a rush to buy him ahead of Game Week 8. And also in Game Week 9, Crystal Palace are going to play against Arsenal away, which is, yeah, the toughest fixture they are going to get all season probably. So again, Ismaila Sarr is a player who can score against anyone. Let's just face it. He scored against Liverpool. He's scoring against Liverpool anytime Crystal Palace are playing Liverpool. But again, you don't really want to have him against Arsenal away. So that's what I'm trying to say. After that, from Game Week 9, Brentford, Brighton, Wolverhampton, Manchester United. I really like the features from Crystal Palace. So I think that you can wait. Now, if we talk about Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea, from here, I think that you can just buy him now if you want him. If you need to sell some players, if you want to get rid of someone like Bruno Fernandes or other injured players or something like that, I think that it is a nice opportunity to buy Enzo Fernandez this game week. Now taking into consideration if he's going to be fit actually to play in Game Week 8. So Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, Spurs, Wolverhampton, Burnley and Arsenal. The fixtures are really good for Chelsea for a long period of time, and even when Palmer is going to be back fit for Chelsea, obviously Enzo Fernandez is not suddenly going to be such a terrible pick, but until Palmer is going to be back, I think that he's just a great option. Now if we move again here, obviously someone like Semenyo, again he's the third on this list. The fixtures for Bournemouth are Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Manchester City, Aston Villa in the next 4 games. So again, not amazing. He's 7.9 millions now. It's not so cheap anymore. Again, he was fantastic this season, let's face it. He scored a lot of goals. He overachieved, let's be honest. I don't think that he's going to keep scoring goals for fun at this rate, but again, I just don't think that it's such an easy decision to buy him now, for an example, because if you didn't bought Semenyo until now, the fixture in Game Week 8 is against Crystal Palace away, who are also a really good defense. So I don't see the rush to buy him right now, but it doesn't really matter. He's just a good pick. He's playing 90 minutes every game. He's on penalties when Kluivert is not on the pitch, and it's not looking like Kluivert is going to be playing 90 minutes anytime soon. So again, these three are probably the best midfielders in the game in that price bracket, let's say it like that. But again, Ahmad, I would not consider him at the moment. Cunha, the same. I just don't think that the rotation risk would put me off, and I just think that there are better options. Even if you want to go for someone like Kudus, for someone like Sarr, for someone like Enzo Fernandez, there are other options. For someone like Eze, if you see him on the list, he's 7.6 million. So again, we're going to take a look also at the fixtures and on the best defenses in the Premier League in the last part probably of this video. So again, I think that Eze is a nice option if you want to go there. I think that Bukayo Saka is better, definitely, obviously, but if you want to save up some cash, if you don't have the cash to go for someone like Bukayo Saka, I think that he's a nice option. Now if you're asking me if I would go for double Arsenal defense instead of double Arsenal attack, I'm not so sure about that. I think that I spoke the things differently. So again, I would rather go at the moment still for double Arsenal defense, and that's why I think that Eze maybe is not in the best three for Arsenal, but I know that it's not, it's a little bit hard for me to say that. I think that Eze right now, because Odegaard is out for 1 month or 2 months, I think that his minutes are more secured. After Odegaard is going to be back, then yeah, maybe he's going to be a headache into your team. I don't think that he's at the same level of nailedness as someone like Bukayo Saka, for an example. So again, right now, Eze for the next 4, 5, 6 fixtures, I think that he's just a great option. It really depends if you want to go for 2 attackers from Arsenal or not. Mbeumo, Casemiro, yeah, I would not go for them at the moment. Minte on 10, yeah, 6 millions. I talked about him in my last videos. I think that he's a great option. The fixtures for Brighton, if we move again for a second, are Newcastle in Game Week 8. So again, not a rush to buy him in Game Week 8 if you can wait. After that, Manchester United, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Nottingham Forest. The fixtures are overall really good for Brighton, and yeah, I think that he's a great option at 6 millions. It's really maybe not the best week to buy a midfielder if we're not talking about Enzo Fernandez. If Enzo Fernandez is going to be fit, probably I would suggest you to just buy him right now. But now let's move to see also some forwards. Okay, now moving on to the next part, let's discuss a little bit about some of the best forwards to buy in FPL. Probably not a lot of them are on this list. This is where things get a little bit more complicated, because if we're talking about midfielders, we have a lot of options right now who are really good, especially with the fixtures. But again, if we're talking about forwards, not a lot of forwards are really inspiring me at the moment. And now we're going to take a look at the same statistics for the first 7 game weeks of the season: non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes, and surprise surprise, Erling Haaland is the first one on this list. Now this guy is just a machine at the moment. I don't really think I need to discuss about him. 1.16 expected goals, non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes, so he's averaging more than 1 goal per game, which is just crazy at the moment. But again, guys, remember, these are just the 7 game weeks of the season, so we don't really have a lot of information. That doesn't mean that these forwards are going to be having the most chances for the entirety of the season, so I think that's pretty much obvious. So yeah, Erling Haaland, again, if you don't have him into your team, I think that you should buy him at the moment. The fixtures are decent for Manchester City, so yeah, on penalties, all the good stuff. Now, if we move to the second place, here we have a player from Everton, Beto. Again, I would not recommend you guys to buy Beto if we were going to move to the fixtures, but as I'm looking at them in game week 8, Manchester City, Tottenham, I don't think that's a rush to buy any player from Everton at the moment. And also Beto is not nailed for Everton. There's always going to be that rotation risk with someone like Barry also, who can play as a number 9 for Everton, so I don't think that you should go there. Now Mateta, Wood, Ekitike, Welbeck, Sesko, Gyökeres, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. We're not going to discuss too much about Wood. The fixtures are just not great from Nottingham Forest. He could also lose his place as a starter for Nottingham Forest from my point of view at some point. Yes, he's on penalties, but and yeah, I know that he didn't perform this season. He was amazing last season, but at the moment, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Man United, Leeds, Liverpool in the next 5 for Nottingham Forest. They are just not great at the moment, so I would not consider Chris Wood. If we talk about Mateta, he's an interesting one because he's a player I really like. When I was talking about Ismail Assar, I didn't talk too much about Crystal Palace being in Europe. Maybe that's going to affect them a little bit. Now, until now, they are playing amazing, so I don't think that they are affected that much. I'm really impressed with Crystal Palace. I like them as a team. I like them offensively. I like them defensively. They were great, especially against Liverpool. As a Liverpool fan, I just hate them at the moment. So yeah, maybe Europe is going to affect some of their players. And I'm talking here about Mateta because Nketiah is back fit. He could take some minutes of Mateta. We saw that Mateta in the last games, he didn't play 90 minutes. Probably he's not going to be a 90-minute player again. I think that he's still going to start most games for Crystal Palace. And when he's starting, he's on penalties. He's getting a lot of chances. He missed a big chance against Everton. I think that he's just a great option. Now, that's just that discomfort with the minutes and with European play. But as I was talking about Sarr, the next 2 fixtures for Crystal Palace are Bournemouth and Arsenal. So again, I just don't think that there's a rush to buy Mateta at the moment. Ekitike, again, I would not advise anyone to buy Ekitike at the moment. Yes, maybe there is a war when we're going to see Ekitike and Isak maybe starting together in some games, but when you're paying 8.7 millions for a forward playing for Liverpool, you'd expect more starts for him. And I just think that Alexander Isak obviously is going to be the main man for Liverpool, playing as a number 9. Now, if we were talking about Isak, let's just discuss a little bit about him also. I think that he's a decent option. At the moment, I'm not fully convinced about his minutes. I'm just not fully 100% sure if he's 100% fit to play all the games 90 minutes. Now, again, probably he's going to play most games in the Premier League. Probably he's going to start them. You're paying a lot of money for Alexander Isak. He's not going to be on penalties, I think. I think that still Salah is going to be on penalties. So again, if you want to jump on him right now as a differential, I think that he's a decent option. The fixtures are decent for Liverpool. Now, just let's move to the fixture. So as I said, for Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Arsenal. After that, I would just jump on Mateta if his minutes are going to look better. Right now, I just don't see the rush to buy Mateta, but I like him as a player, obviously. With Alexander Isak and Ekitike, the run for Liverpool starting from game week 8 is pretty decent. Man United, Brentford, Aston Villa, Manchester City, Nottingham Forest and West Ham. If we take out Manchester City from that game week, in game week 11 I think, that's just an amazing run for Liverpool. So yeah, as a differential, Isak is going to be huge. Again, Liverpool are not clicking at the moment, but I'm sure at some point they're going to be clicking. Florian Wirtz is going to be scoring goals and assisting. Alexander Isak is going to be scoring goals. So yeah, I think that they are decent options, but again, I'm not sure if it's the right moment, because for an example, maybe you have someone like Gyökeres into your team, maybe you're thinking to get rid of him because you're tired of him blanking, but I can't really advise anyone to sell Gyökeres to Alexander Isak because the fixtures are just better for Arsenal. Gyökeres is more nailed for minutes at the moment, how I see it for Arsenal. So again, as a punt, I like going for Alexander Isak. Now, talking about some players who are probably not on this list, if we're talking about forwards, the best ones short term, I still think that they are João Pedro from Chelsea. With those fixtures, as I said before, Forest, Sunderland, Spurs, Wolverhampton, Burnley. For Chelsea, this run is just amazing. So João Pedro, I think that he's a nice option. You're not going to see him on these statistics probably because he's not getting a lot of chances, and he didn't get a lot of chances in the last 2 or 3 games when Chelsea played in 10 men. But again, he's playing for Chelsea as a number 9. He doesn't have a lot of competition, so his minutes are secured. And the same could go for Bowen. If we look at West Ham, the fixtures are decent, as you can see, in the next 4 at least: Brentford, Leeds, Newcastle and Burnley. So again, after that, the fixtures are not going to be amazing for West Ham, but short term, I think that Bowen, João Pedro, these are the players you want to go if we're talking about strikers. Welbeck, again, I'm just not sure he's 100% nailed. Now, when he's nailed, obviously, he's a forward at 6.3 million on penalties, who is decent, obviously. Sesko, it is an interesting one because we're going to take a look also later in this video to see which are the teams who created more chances, and Manchester United are obviously almost on the top on that list. So again, he's looking like he got that spot as a number 9. I think that he's going to start most games. He scored in the last game week, if I'm not wrong. So again, 7.3 millions, an interesting option, but again, I'm not so sure about Manchester United, to be honest. And obviously in game week 8 against Liverpool, I would definitely not buy Sesko. Gyökeres, I know a lot of people are frustrating with him, myself included. I have him into my team, and obviously right now, if you give me the chance, I would prefer to have someone like Bukayo Saka, right, instead of Gyökeres. But now, again, for me, in my case, I will just keep Gyökeres for the next few fixtures. The fixtures are good for Arsenal. There is a chance Saka and Gyökeres are going to still share the penalties. And I just think that with the fixtures, his form is going to get better. So I'm going to give him some game weeks. Now, next on this list is a player a lot of people are talking right now, Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Leeds. And I don't really understand it, but partially I understand it. Again, if you're wildcarding, in some cases, he's 5.5 million. So I think that probably at that price, he's the best player, the best striker in the game. He's on penalties, playing 90 minutes for Leeds. Yeah, he's not creating a lot of chances. He's missing a lot of chances. I don't really like him as a player in general. But again, probably he's not a pick for me. I would definitely not buy him. But again, if you're on a wildcard, if you don't mind having a 8 attacker on your bench, again, I think that he's decent. And Richarlison, I think that he's a no-go. He was a bench in the last game week. There was always this risk with Richarlison when Solanke is going to be back, but even without Solanke, he was benched. So again, I think that I would not go for him. And another striker probably I forgot to mention is Voldemort, who I think that he's still a decent option, at least until Wisa is going to be back, and that's going to take some time. So the fixtures for Newcastle are Brighton, Fulham, West Ham, Brentford, Manchester City and Everton. Decent. He's playing 90 minutes or close to 90 minutes every game week. He's on penalties when Anthony Gordon is not going to be on the pitch, and that's a plus. So again, I'm not impressed with his statistics. I don't think that he's that player who's going to score you a hat-trick every game week, right? But I think that he's a decent option at that price. So yeah, pretty much this is the discussion with the forwards. If you want to buy some forwards for the next few fixtures, I think that I would go something like João Pedro, Bowen, Voldemort, and maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin if you really need that cash. And yeah, long term, again, João Pedro, I still like him. Alexander Isak maybe is going to be decent, but overall at the moment there aren't a lot of good forwards to pick from. So yeah, let's move to the next part. Moving to the next part, in the next two sections of the video, we're going to discuss a little bit about defensive contributions for defenders and for midfielders. Now, again, for what is worth, I think that for defender is more important. And now this season, as you may know, we have this new system with defensive contributions, which is a little bit more important than I thought when the season started. So again, I'm going to show you some of the best defenders for in this start of the season for defensive contributions, and here you're going to see the CBIT per 90 minutes, because I think that this is the most accurate way of seeing how sustainable are these defenders for getting defensive contributions. Because for an example, if you're just looking at someone like Senesi having 75 in the first 7 game weeks, and someone like Virgil van Dijk having 40 but getting more constantly them, again, it is more different. So again, we're going to look here at CBIT per 90 minutes, and no surprises here. Senesi from Bournemouth is averaging 12.52 defensive contributions per 90, which is just amazing, because as you may know, for a defender to get the additional 2 points, you just need to hit the threshold of 10 defensive contributions. Now Senesi is 5 million, so again, he's not a cheap defender anymore, and definitely if we're looking at the fixtures for Bournemouth are not amazing in the short term. As I talked before, let's just take a quick look for Bournemouth here. Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Manchester City and Aston Villa. So again, I would not be so confident of Bournemouth getting clean sheets, because remember guys, even if these defenders are amazing for defensive contributions, I'm still looking to buy defenders who have better chances of getting the clean sheet. Because remember guys, when you get a clean sheet, that's 4 points, and when you hit defensive contributions, that's 2 points. So it's double up that threshold. So again, we should still be looking for defenders who get clean sheets. Now Bournemouth are a decent defense, so that's a plus for someone like Senesi, but Crystal Palace, City and Aston Villa in the next 4 are not amazing. So I think that you should you can make a case of not going for Senesi for the short term because of those chances for getting a clean sheet. Yes, probably he's going to get you 3 or 4 points even when they are not going to get a clean sheet, but that's just not amazing. Let's face it. So again, if you are on a wild card, yeah, probably I would just put Senesi in the wildcard, because long term I think that he's a decent option. But right now at 5 millions, again, you can make a case of not going for him for the short term. I don't think that he's going to go up in price in a crazy amount of time at the moment. Other defenders who are amazing for these statistics are Mukiele from Sunderland, who is a really interesting one because he's 4 millions. Someone like Alderete also is decent. Now he's not on this top 10, but he's really good also. So yeah, definitely looking for someone like Mukiele if you're looking to wildcard or something like that, or if you really need some cash to upgrade elsewhere. Tarkowski, again, amazing for defensive contribution. We knew before the season started that he's going to be great. Now 5.5 millions, I just don't really I don't know, I'm just not really buying. I saw a lot of people were hyping Tarkowski 2 game weeks ago. Again, I understand why, because he's getting pretty much those 2 additional points every game week, but the fixtures for Everton were just not great. Now, in Game Week 8, definitely, I would just not buy Tarkowski right now. Manchester City, Spurs, Sunderland, Fulham, Man United, Newcastle. Long term, the fixtures are going to be decent, but for the next 2 at least, City, Spurs, I would not go for someone like Tarkowski. Anderson, 4.5 millions. He's also decent for defensive contribution. I really like him as a player. I see a lot of people are not rating him now. Again, for That price, 4.5 millions, I think that is just great. Yes, Fulham weren't amazing in keeping clean sheets, to be honest with you, in the first 7 game weeks, and definitely in game week 8, in the next 2 fixtures, Fulham are going to play against Arsenal and Newcastle, so I would not be buying Anderson at the moment. But long term, Wolves, Everton, Sunderland, Spurs, the fixtures are going to get better for Fulham. I can see some clean sheets in those games, and he's just great for defensive contributions, so I think that he's a good one overall. Now again, it really depends if you're wildcarding, because if you're not wildcarding, I don't really see a reason to buy a lot of defenders. Now obviously maybe you have some defenders you want to get rid of, but again, if you have someone like Van Dijk, probably I would keep. If you have someone like Vardiol, probably I would keep. Someone like Diouf has decent fixtures in the next 4 at least, playing for West Ham. So again, looking at the defenders, someone like Burn, for an example, for Newcastle, I think that he's decent, but more expensive, definitely. Now looking here, if you want to go for a defender for West Ham and you don't want to go for Diouf, Mavropanos, it is an interesting one at 4.4 millions. He's also averaging 11.20 defensive contributions per game. Agbadou from Wolverhampton, but again, probably you're not buying a defender from Wolverhampton at the moment because they are just not great at the moment at keeping clean sheets. Virgil van Dijk, I think that he's still decent. Now again, if you want to get rid of him to buy someone like Anderson, to buy someone like Mukiele, to upgrade elsewhere, then I can understand it. But I think that Liverpool defense, and you're going to see that in the last part of this video, are a little bit underrated. And I still think that because the fixtures are decent for Liverpool, we're going to see some clean sheets. Van Dijk is decent for defensive contributions. We know that he has some attacking threat. And at some point from game week 12 onwards, a lot of people, if they are going to be wildcarding or not, are going to want to have some players from Liverpool because the fixtures are going to be just great. And if you want to go for a defender, you're not going to go for Konate because of his not rotation risk, but more likely injury prone ish risk. You're not going to go for Kerkez. He's not so attacking at the moment. He's not good for defensive contributions, and with Bradley and Frimpong, you just don't know when they're going to play. So Virgil van Dijk is still the best defender to go from Liverpool. You could go for someone like Cucurella, you could go for someone like Chalobah if you want short term. I think that's okay, but again, we saw someone like Cucurella being rested, being benched in some games. So again, I think that with the Champions League, with the cups going on, Chelsea could rotate. So yeah, Richards from Crystal Palace is a defender also I like. Probably I would go also for someone like Munoz despite defensive contributions, because again, but with Crystal Palace, as I said before, probably I would not go for them for the next 2 fixtures. After that, we need to think about them. But yeah, Richards I really like at 4.5 millions. Keane for Everton, again, when Braithwaite is going to be back, Keane is going to lose his place, and also the fixtures are not great for Everton in the short term. Ekdal from Burnley. So yeah, if I'm just looking at the fixtures and at some teams. So from West Ham, Diouf, Mavropanos. From Chelsea, you could go for someone like Cucurella, Chalobah if you want. From Sunderland, Mukiele, Alderete are decent. From Manchester City, at the moment, it's just Gvardiol. And I like Gvardiol. The fixtures are decent. Everton, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle, Leeds. But you're not in a rush to buy Gvardiol, and he's also really expensive. With Fulham, you're not really buying any vendor from them. Nottingham Forest the same. Wolverhampton the same. Brighton, again, the fixtures are decent, but not a lot of defenders who are intriguing me at the moment. From Arsenal, again, let's talk a little bit about their defenders, right? Because they have a lot of good opportunities, and Arsenal are the best defense in the Premier League. They are not great for defensive contributions, but you're buying Arsenal defenders for the chances of clean sheets mostly, although someone like Gabriel got defensive contributions in some games. So again, going for someone like Gabriel, I still think that he's the best option. Someone like Timber is nice for the money you pay. You don't want to go for any defenders from Burnley. Brentford, again, for Spurs, the fixtures are just not great. Aston Villa, Everton, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal. I would not buy any defenders from Spurs at the moment. The same for Everton, the same for Aston Villa. Leeds, again, you can go for someone like Goodmanson, someone like Rodon. For Bournemouth, pretty much it's Senesi. And yeah, Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester United, you're not buying any defender from Manchester United. So yeah, let's move to see some midfielders. Now moving to the next part, I'm going to try to make it a little bit more shorter because probably this video is really long at the moment. So we're going to discuss a little bit about the midfielders who are decent for defensive contributions. But as I said earlier, I don't think that we should not really target defensive contribution midfielders, because the threshold for midfielders is 12 defensive contributions, and I'm not saying that there aren't any good options. I think that we have some decent options on this list, but again, it's more important for defenders. Now, first on this list, no surprises here, Moises Caicedo from Chelsea. He's just amazing for defensive contributions, although to be honest with you, he's not getting defensive contributions every game week. It's really depending on the type of game these defenders are playing. Obviously 13.71 obviously is decent. He's almost getting them every game week. 5.8 millions at the moment. I'm not so sure if I would go there right now. Now obviously a lot of people are buying Caicedo right now because he scored 2 or 3 goals I think this season, more than he scored in the last 3 seasons or something like that. So I just don't think that he's going to score every game for Chelsea. So again, he's not really the type of player I would go, but again, as a fifth midfielder, I think that he's just a great option if you want to keep him on your wildcard. Or you just want to buy him. He's a really nice option to have from the bench if you need to play him in some games. But the thing with this defensive contribution midfielder is obviously if he's going to play, for an example, against an easy opposition, against someone like Burnley, he's not likely to get defensive contributions. So these obviously these players are more likely to get defensive contributions where they are going to play against tougher oppositions. So that's the problem. You're not going to be tempted to play them in any given game, because for an example, if you have someone like Njae playing against Manchester City, and for an example Caicedo would be playing against Arsenal or something like that, you would just, for an example, what I would do, I would just play Njae, to be honest with you, instead of Caicedo. So I don't know if that really makes sense, but again, as a fifth midfielder, I think that he's a great option. So yeah, I think that he's okay. Now again, don't expect him to score every game week. I don't think that's going to happen. An honorable mention here, who's not on this list because he wasn't playing in the first game weeks of the season, is someone from Burnley. Hopefully I'm not going to miss his name, something like Florentino Luis. Now please correct me guys if I'm wrong. He got defensive contributions in every game he started pretty much. So Florentino, definitely one to watch from Burnley, I think. So yeah, take a look at him. Andre from Wolverhampton, not really interesting in him. Cullen from Burnley. Again, these defenders are decent because they are getting defensive contributions. Now, if you look at someone like Anderson, who was really frustrating because he got 11 DefCons in the first 3 or 4 games, so really frustrating. But yeah, he's definitely going to be decent. Now, he's looking like he's not the same as he was last season regarding defensive contributions. He's not getting them at the same rate at the moment. Talking about the first 7 fixtures, the fixtures are just not great for Nottingham Forest. So yeah, from this list, the player I would go probably would be Xhaka from Sunderland, because he's on set pieces. I'm not sure if he's going to be on penalties. He took a penalty from for Switzerland, but yeah, again, he's on set pieces. He's getting defensive contributions at a decent rate, and at 5 minutes, I just think that he could be great value to sit on your bench. Bentancur, Ampadu, Adams, Garner, Baleba. Other mentions here, if you're looking for an example for a team like I'm not really sure, Manchester City. So again, Reinders, Rodrigo, Rodri are not getting defensive contributions. If you're looking for Brighton, Arsenal, Burnley, Brentford, they don't really have a lot of players who are getting defensive contributions. If we're talking about midfielders, from Spurs, maybe someone like Palhinha could be a decent option. For Everton, yeah, someone like Garner, but again, he's not nailed to play 90 minutes every game week. Yeah, we don't really have a lot of midfielders who are getting defensive contributions. So yeah, I was just looking at the list. So yeah, pretty much these are the options if we're talking about defensive contributions. Now, I don't think that you should target to buy these players. I think that we have other better players, obviously a little bit more expensive, like Sarr, like Enzo Fernandez, like Semenyo, and the list goes on. Someone like Anthony Gordon could be a nice option, who I forgot to mention when we were talking about midfielders. But yeah, if you want a defensive contribution midfielder who's really cheap, I would go for someone like Chaka, I would go for someone like Caicedo, and probably that's it for me at the moment. But let's move to the next part. Okay, now let's move to the next part. Here I'm going to show you who are the best defenses in the Premier League in the first 7 game weeks of the season. And here we're going to take a look at the expected goals conceded per 90 minutes. Now, if you don't know what does that mean, obviously, to say it easier, the lower the number, the better the defense. So as you can see from the screen, the best defense in the Premier League in the first 7 game weeks of the season, surprise, surprise, was Arsenal. Now, again, this it doesn't really matter. It's not taking into consideration clean sheets or something like that, but the chances for these teams to concede goals, and as you can see, the minimal it is for Arsenal. Now, again, interesting things here. Again, as I said before, I think that with defensive contributions, a lot of players probably are overlooking the clean sheets, because maybe myself included, I'm just going for someone like Anderson, and Fulham didn't really keep a lot of clean sheets in the start of the season. So again, I still think that the bread and butter for defenders are the clean sheets, because as I said before, it's 4 points, DefCons is 2, so it's double the amount. We should target also these teams who are most likely to get a lot of clean sheets. And yeah, Arsenal, I think that they're going to get the most clean sheets this season, so straight away I think that you should have some defenders from Arsenal. And as I said before, if you want to triple up on Arsenal, considering and because they have great fixtures coming up, I would go for 2 defenders from Arsenal and an attacker, someone like Bukayo Saka probably. Talking about defenders, I would go for Gabriel, and probably right now for Timber. I still think that there is that slightly chance of Timber not playing every game, but again, he's going to play most games for Arsenal. Maybe I got that wrong in the start of the season. Now I'm happy with Raya and Gabriel. There's no rush to sell a goalkeeper like Raya. He's still decent. He's still going to get the clean sheets if Arsenal are going to keep any. So again, Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, Timber, Raya, take your pick pretty much. I think that Gabriel, Timber, Raya, and probably, I don't know, Saliba are the safest options at the moment. And definitely take a look and buy some defenders from Arsenal if you don't have any. Newcastle, the second best defense in the Premier League. I was impressed about them. Here I would go for someone like Burn probably. Someone like Trippier could be a differential because Livramento is going to be out for some weeks. But yeah, pretty much that's it. Burn is not getting defensive contributions that much at that rate because he's playing also as a left back, so he's not playing mainly as a center back. But Burn, I think that is the option I would go, or even go for someone like Pope in goal if you're wildcarding or something like that. Bournemouth, impressive. They were a really good defense this season. I would go for Senesi. Other than that, you could go for someone like Trafford if you want some attacking threat. You could go for someone like I'm missing the name of the second center half for Bournemouth. Again, I don't think that he's better than Senesi, but again, and I'm not thinking that I would go for him. If I would go for a Bournemouth defender, I would just go straight away to Senesi. Manchester City were a decent defense, fourth on this place. Again, not a lot of options for Manchester City. Gvardiol probably is the best one because of the safeness of starts. When Henry is going to be back, maybe there's going to be some rotation, but Gvardiol can play as a left back, he can play as a center back, so he's safe. He's not decent for defensive contributions, but again, he has some attacking threat. And Liverpool are fifth on this list. That's what I was talking before. Even myself, when I was looking, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I think that we were really bad in defense, to be honest with you, in some games, in pretty much most of the games in the first 7 game weeks. But again, the stats are not lying, and Liverpool didn't concede a lot of expected conceded goals per 90 minutes in all those games. They had, even against Crystal Palace, when they had a lot of chances, Crystal Palace, to score against Liverpool, they were under 1 or something like that, so 1.11. I think that Liverpool are not that bad a defense the people are considering them to be honest with you. But again, I understand if you're tired, if you have someone like Kerkes, if you have someone like Frimpong, Bradley, definitely probably they are not safe picks, but someone like Van Dijk is going to come into our thoughts soon enough when the fixtures are going to be better for Liverpool, and I still expect Liverpool to be top 4 on this list by the end of the season, or even top 3, top 2, something like that. I think that for the matter, I think that Arsenal is going to be the best defense in the Premier League. No reason why. So yeah, Leeds on 6th place, really impressive. And also to give an example, for me, when I was watching Spurs in the first gamings of the season, I had the impression, for an example, Spurs are defending amazing. They are defending way better than they did last season, and they are defending better than Liverpool. But if you're looking at these statistics, it's not true. Liverpool are defending better than Spurs, actually. So again, it makes you think a little bit, but nonetheless, Leeds, Spurs, decent defenses this season. Really impressed with Leeds, also really impressed with Sunderland. And yeah, Crystal Palace here on the 9th place. Also, they were great defendingly. And also Brighton, but again, they didn't kept a lot of clean sheets. We don't really have a lot of outstanding options from Brighton. We had at the start of the season someone like De Kuiper, but again, they conceded a lot of goals, even though they didn't... their statistics are not that bad. They are mid-table team considering expected goals conceded. Again, they don't have a lot of outstanding options in defense. So yeah, Crystal Palace, definitely I would look for someone like Munoz, for someone like Richards if you want. Alderete, we discussed about these players. Now, obviously, you need to take into consideration the fixtures. If we move again to the fixtures, and if we select here, for example, the easiest defensive fixtures from Game Week 8 to Game Week 13, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, Spurs, Wolverhampton, Burnley, and Arsenal, and they weren't right on this list. But again, Chelsea played a lot of games with 10 men, so you can't really take too much into that. I still expect Chelsea to be a decent defense, and yeah, if you want to go for someone like Chalobah, if you want to take a punt on someone like, not a punt, right? Cucurella, Chalobah probably are the best options from Chelsea, or even someone like Sanchez in goal, but there is that slight chance of him being rotated at some point. Again, West Ham, Brentford, Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley, the fixtures are decent, but West Ham are not a decent defense, at least at the moment. We need to see. Probably they're going to get better with the new coach, but again, I would not be rushing to buy West Ham defenders. Let me just say it like that. Sunderland, I think that they are decent. Someone like Alderete, someone like Mukiele. Fulham, I would not go for any defenders from them. Wolverhampton, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Manchester City, Brighton, Burnley, Spurs. As I said before, I would not go for defenders from Spurs. Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Leeds. Interesting options here for Game Week 8. Definitely, if you're planning to use your bench boost, Rodon, Goodmanson, decent options. But other than that, I would be not buying Bournemouth defenders, Everton defenders, Villa defenders at the moment, at least. So probably, yeah, it is Newcastle, it is Liverpool. Still, these teams should be targeted, and obviously Arsenal. But now let's see also the best attacks in the Premier League. Moving to the last part, it feels like this video is going to be really long, and I'm really sorry for that, but if you're still watching at the moment, I really appreciate it and I thank you. And obviously, if you enjoyed the content, please consider leaving a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. It would really help the channel and it really means a lot to me. So yeah, thanks a lot. In the last part, we're going to discuss about the best attacking teams in the first 7 gamings of the season. Now, regarding non-penalty expected goals per appearances per 90 minutes. So surprisingly, or maybe more to say impressively, Crystal Palace are on the first place here, and no surprise because they scored a lot of goals. And yeah, as I said before, really interested in players like Ismail Assar, like Jean-Philippe Mateta. Also without Eze, they lost Eze, but still they are scoring a lot of goals, as you can see from the screen. 1.82 non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes, almost 2 goals per game, which is just amazing. And also they didn't have a lot of easier fixtures or something. That they played against Liverpool, they played against a lot of tough oppositions. Again, I just don't think that you should buy them right now. I don't think that it is a rush to buy Sarr right now, because Bournemouth Game Week 8, because of Arsenal in Game Week 9. But Other than that, if you're wildcarding, definitely I would have someone like Ismail Assar on my wildcard. Manchester City, Haaland is helping this statistic for Manchester City a lot. So again, they scored a lot of goals. Erling Haaland scored a lot of goals. But if you're talking about other midfielders, other attacking options for Manchester City, you can have someone like Foden, but probably the train passed for that. You have someone like Doku, but you're not going there. You have some options in attack, but again, the risk of rotation, if you're not called Erling Haaland, Gvardiol, or even Ederson, you're just not going to be sure if those players are going to play. So you need to be some kind of an FPL player to buy players like Foden, Doku. But again, if you can nail which player from Manchester City is going to play all the games, or at least who's going to play most games, close to 90 minutes, that's probably going to be great for you, right? Because yeah, they usually are a team who are scoring a lot of goals. And interestingly, or maybe not, as I said before, Manchester United third on this list with 1.6.5 expected non-penalty goals per 90 minutes. Manchester United are creating a lot of chances, they are just not converting them, and this is not taking into consideration that Bruno Fernandes missed 2 penalties, because if we take that with penalties, Manchester United are first on this list by a mile. But yeah, they are creating chances, so there is potential for Manchester United, for players like Cunha, Mbeumo, maybe Bruno Fernandes, maybe Sesko, but at the moment the fixtures are not amazing. Definitely you're not buying them against Liverpool away at Anfield. So again, at some point, someone like Mbeumo could be a nice option, but there are a lot of good, cheaper options who are not necessarily better, but I think that there are better value, like Enzo Fernandez, Sar. So yeah, but I just don't think that we should write off Manchester United FPL players for the future, at least. With Arsenal, they are fourth on this list, which is interesting, considering that Gyökeres didn't get a lot of goals in the last game weeks. But again, I would go for Bukayo Saka. If you're talking about attacking players, right, from Arsenal, I would go number 1, Bukayo Saka, because he's on penalties. Probably he's the main penalty taker. He's on some set pieces. And yeah, pretty much that's it. He's going to get good minutes. He's nailed when he's fit. Second place, I would go for Eze as a differential, and also as a pick for the next 5 to 6 game weeks. I think that he's the second best attacking player from Arsenal. And then I would go for Gyökeres, but probably you're not buying Gyökeres right now. Although the fixtures are going to be great in the next 4 for Arsenal. So yeah, Chelsea. Again, I would keep Enzo Fernandez, I would keep Joao Pedro. If you have these players, I would just keep them. They're going to be a decent attack, regardless if Palmer is going to be fit or not anytime soon. So yeah, I think that Joao Pedro and Enzo Fernandez probably are the best picks from Chelsea. Liverpool are an interesting one, a little bit lower down the list, considering that they were the best attacking team in the Premier League last season by a mile. Now they are on the 6th place. Again, the things are not clicking for Liverpool at the moment. I'm expecting them to be better. It's just when that's going to happen, because you just don't know when that's going to happen. Now, it is a good moment in Game Week 8, to be honest with you, against Manchester United for them to click. Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, Ekitike, Gakpo, Salah, these players are going to be FPL options at some point. I'm pretty sure about that. And also with Wirtz dropping in price, I think that at some point he's going to become an FPL option. But at the moment, you're not buying them. I would not buy Ekitike, I would not buy Gakpo, I would not buy Florian Wirtz. Alexander Isak and Mohamed Salah probably are the best options at the moment. Now, obviously, if you have Mohamed Salah, that's a completely different topic. If you have both of them, Haaland and Salah, I would just keep Salah for this game week, I think. But again, if you're thinking about selling Salah to Bukayo Saka, for an example, I just don't think that Saka's fixture against Fulham in Game Week 8 is way better than Salah fixtures against Manchester United. So to be honest with you, I would argue that for Mohamed Salah, it's better to play against Manchester United, and I think that he's a better pick than Bukayo Saka for Game Week 8 at least. So again, depending on your budget, depending on which upgrades you want to make elsewhere, I would try to keep Mohamed Salah, I think, for Game Week 8 if you have him already. But about buying, probably not. I would just buy Haaland at the moment. Brighton, really impressive. Minte, Mitoma, Welbeck, decent options we have here. I would just go for Minte for the money. Everton, Njae, Grealish, decent options again, but you're not buying them against Manchester City, and also Grealish can't play against Manchester City, so don't buy Jack Grealish, guys. Remember that. Bournemouth and Spurs. Now, Bournemouth. Again, a lot of people are frustrating with Evan Nilsson, and for good reasons, right? Because he blanked a lot of in a lot of games. He scored just one game, just one goal this season, I think. But usually, Evan Nilsson last season he got. I think that a lot of people are underestimating him a little bit. He's the number 9, and yeah, definitely I would go for Semenyo. I think that he's better on penalties, playing 90 minutes. But after that, if you want to double up on Bournemouth defense, not necessarily now because the fixtures are not great in the next 2 or something like that, but from gaming 10, from gaming 12 onwards, yeah, Evan Nilsson probably is the second best choice from Bournemouth. And from Spurs, again, I have Kudus personally in my team, and I'm happy to have him. About buying him, I'm not so sure if I would rush to buy him. I think that there are better, decent options than Kudus at the moment. But definitely, if you have him, you just keep them. Keep him for the moment. If you have Richarlison, I would just sell. The same goes for Johnson. For the other attackers, I would just sell them. Probably Xavi Simons, I would keep for now, but again, he wasn't really impressive. So yeah, pretty much this was it. Please let me know what do you think about this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I think, yeah, it was a little bit too long. I'm going to see when I'm going to edit it. Thanks a lot for being here and watching for this long of time, because I know that it is not that easy. Thanks a lot for your support. I really appreciate it, and it really means a lot. Please consider leaving a like, hit that subscribe button if you're also new here and if you enjoy this content, and I'm going to see you tomorrow for my stream. Thanks a lot, bye.